About what to anticipate for the rest of the week. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for June 24th, 2019. We have about 7 minutes left until the market closes. Here it is, down 34 cents, 0.18%, and 0.07, just about flat on the SPY here. You can see the very narrow range here we put in. This bar here, can easily kind of lose track of it right there. Very, very tight range on the SPY and the Qs today. You can see the intraday. I thought the intraday, while it was the slightest of downtrends, wasn't a downtrend. We got a sell setup there. That sell setup never failed. And we are kind of more toward the lows. But you don't want to make too much out of it because we are really just putting in a very, very, very narrow body bar here. Coming into today, bullish bias on the Qs and SPY unless we took out this pivot here to the left. We are attempting to do that. Okay, so if we break this pivot, it will be into more support. So it's not going to be a bearish bias quite yet. We'll have to see what kind of follow through if we break underneath 187.44 on the Qs. Okay, and then from there we'll look for the next setup. So going into, we did take it out already on the SPY, however. So we are looking like we're going to be neutral tomorrow on the SPY and then remaining bullish on the Qs. Looks like we took it out we're basically there at it. So going to be neutral to bullish tomorrow. Okay. Qs weakening a little bit, SPY weakening a little bit, but hard to argue with this hourly uptrend really still being intact here, and the daily and weekly and monthly all still looking bullish. Okay, so going into tomorrow, neutral to bullish. All right. So what I wanted to talk about today is volume. I think it's something that gets used in a lot of different ways. Volume, and I would say the way that I use it couldn't be any simpler. Okay, let's preface that by, first of all, price is the most important, right? It doesn't matter what kind of indicator, trend channels, moving averages, they're all gonna be some kind of derivative of price, some kind of incorporation of price. So price is always going to come first, but volume comes next. And I've seen a lot of different things, volume decreasing, increasing, trying to draw trend lines out of the way that price is moving. I don't use any of that. So on any given day, or even on these daily charts, but on the intraday, the really only thing I care about is when volume is almost off the charts, right? So in the case of this, right, this is going to be exhausting volume, right? I've said this before. I used to think that when we saw this big volume, and especially like if I was short something, I thought, oh, good, and I'm short, and now big money is joining me, so that's a good thing, right? Well, a lot of times that actually is a problem. On breakouts, breakdowns, big volume comes in. That means everyone chose the same spot to either cover their shorts or to go long. And now there's no one to follow up behind it. So these kind of big volume, off the chart volume is really the only ones that I care about. These kind of volume bars, okay? And that remains the case if we're looking at something like the ERI today. Okay, look at that. It's so big, makes all these other volume bars almost insignificant. You know what this reminds me of? We played the PB last week. Okay, PB last Monday, right? Same thing. These are the volume bars that I care about. Now, what does this tell me relative to its average? There are a lot of people getting involved in this. That if there's going to be a day that this thing puts in a wide range bar, potential to hit a home run if you get the direction correct, today is that day. Okay, now on a day for something like the Apple, which is not, okay, Apple, look how small this bar is. You're probably going to have a hard time getting a lot of follow through. Now, if you're the type of trader who likes small moves, likes small scalps, you like something to stay in a range, pick it up off the bottom, sell it off the top, this is probably what you want to see. For me, there's not much opportunity in this kind of stuff. Okay, I know it came in here even breaking the base here as we're talking here. Still, that's really not that impressive to me, right? What I am looking for is this, right? Multiple hour moves, stuff that you can stay in all day. BMY and the Selge, which both are basically one and the same now due to BMY buying Selge, right? You get to play this at the open, which I know some people did. Was given as a 1 minute high-low here this morning based on this gap down. And you can basically stick with it all day. You can see there's your entry there around 47, and here it is around 45.68. It's a nice move on the BMY. So let's take a look at what the daily looks like on this BMY. Okay, you can see that this is the day. Now, some people, look at the news, evaluate the news, decide that's their basis for it. It doesn't really matter. That's what's the nice thing about this volume, is I just know that people care. Do I really need to know how they came to that decision, right? That's why earnings can be so powerful, because some may come to the decision based on the fundamentals. Some may come to it based on the technicals, based on the quality of the gap, based on the other things. They all point to whether you're going to buy or sell. And this tells me, right, whether they looked at they were not happy that the deal was delayed, or they were trapped because recently they had bought it long, or whatever the reason, right? We know there was a lot of selling in this today, okay? Now, I think the next thing that, if you come to that conclusion that you want to go after these ones that are putting in this big volume, you want to know how early can we make this, identify this. And the chart that I use to identify it is the 15. If you're not in it already in the first few minutes, like the BMY gave you the opportunity, it should be clear, right, after the first 15 minutes, whether or not this is going to be an above average relative to its average volume, okay? Whether or not this is going to be a big deal today. You should be able to see it on the 15. Okay, there it is, the BMY, right? This is the biggest bar for 15 minutes of volume traded here in days and days. And same with the ERI. Here's your 15-minute chart. You can know it as early as the 5. That 5-minute is going to be pretty big. The only thing is with the most 5-minute bars, right? Whether the stock is going to be doing above average volume or not is going to be above average compared to other 5-minute charts, because a lot of trading gets done in the first 5 minutes. Okay, you see that on the Apple, still some above average, but on, say we go to the 15 and we say, well, is the 15 really that big a deal? Keep in mind that this is the 15 right here. Okay, it's actually not that big a deal, not that different from your common 15, even if this were the bar, right? This is not the one that is taking and changing the scale of what is a big volume bar there, okay? So the 15-minute is the one I like to use. If I don't play it at the open, from there, after the first 15 minutes, I'm looking at it to see if it's above average. And those are the ones most likely to move, right? So we looked at a lot of things today as well, like, for instance, this AGCO, right? And from looking at it on the 15, it told me, maybe it's not really that much in focus. It did get an upgrade. It did get a gap up, right? But this is actually pretty close to average on the AGCO. I can tell you exactly over the last 20 days. Yeah, it's actually 98% the average volume of the last 20 trading days. So this is right on average. This is an average day, and you're getting a very average bar. You see that? Now, if we pick on something like the ERI, right? ERI did 25 times its average over the last 20 days. So no surprise there, right? Nice downtrend basically all day. Did get a little bit of a pop here in the last 5 minutes to make it close off the lows there. But if we were to say, where is the easy money to be made on this for most of the day? To the short side, right? So ERI, BMY, all going to be the same thing. BMY, we did almost 3 times its average here over the last 20 days here on the BMY. So that's what you're looking for, 2 to 3 times, right? A lot of times what you'll see is that in these first 15 minutes, right? They'll do almost their average volume, right? Or they'll do their average volume in the first half of the day, right? Meaning they're on track to do, twice as much as they normally do. So you want to know that people care, people have business to do in it, and there is a reaction to it. It's these kind of things where it's very hard to get follow through. Let's look at the Cisco as well. Cisco, today's volume in comparison to Friday's, yeah, this is pretty average, right? Friday, of course, had a big move, big volume. People were watching it, but today, not so much. So this really, really helps in avoiding things that really aren't going to follow through that much. You'll get these breakouts, these breakdowns that trigger you in. Maybe they go some fraction of an hour, and then they kind of go to sleep. So, those are the ones you want to avoid. Stuff like this ERI is just off the charts, how much volume, how much people care. And you don't have to wait until the end of the day, right, to determine that, because then that would be useless, right? Use the 15-minute chart, and that will give you a nice heads up on whether or not this is doing above average volume or not, or on track to do so. Okay, like I said, you can use the 5, but the 5 is going to be a little bit harder to determine. I think the 15 just makes it nice and clear. Okay, so that's why I like the 15. Okay, I find it very, very helpful, and just increases the odds that you're going to pick the next home run. Okay. All right, and it's not that money can't be made with some of these, back and forth. I remember when the Apple came up, someone said Apple, when it did this, Apple looks lower. I said, yeah, it could be lower. Doesn't really seem to be moving around that lot. I expect this not to put in a wide range bar here. Actually has been holding up a little bit better than market, basing near the highs. And they said, oh, okay, well, maybe it's actually a long. And I said, well, as a long, this was a gap down. I don't really have a strategy for this, and so I think, that's the kind of thing where, yeah, you can get easily chopped up going long, short, especially if you're looking for those little small moves, right? And so it's very, very challenging. And I know even in some cases, people look at this ERI and say, well, I played it here and got out there and made a nice money on the long there. Maybe even you did the same on the SPH here. SPH, I played it here, got it here. But when I look at this bar on the SPH, to me that says if there is opportunity here, it's to the short side. That's where I'm most likely going to consistently be able to take money away, make money on this is as a short. That's where I don't have to be so precise. Otherwise, I'm looking at a big loss. Even if I get out early, kind of take small profit, right? This is where there is the opportunity to me to the downside, downtrend. That is trading in the direction of the trend, right? And that's what we're trying to do here. Okay. All right. So very, very quiet today. Going into tomorrow, neutral to bullish. We'll see if the market gives this pullback here, sets up an opportunity for us to be all out bullish again. For now, the SPY starting to weaken a bit here, Qs as well. We're starting to break the hourly trend that we've been watching. So we'll see if it gets followed through. And then the next setup, we can start a bearish bias. But for now, neutral to bullish. All right. Hope you did well today. I thought it was a pretty quiet day. You can see from the market itself, very, very neutral kind of bar here. So we'll wait and see what we get tomorrow. And I will talk to you then. All right. Have a good evening.